I was just at a conference actually this last fall, and somebody was asking, we were in a room of about 1,000 nurses, and asking how many of them were either considering leaving their job or have considered leaving their job. And almost, 75-80% of the room probably raised their hand. And it was just sad to see that there's that much stress and just emotional breakdown and just really difficulty dealing with our world in nursing, that there's so many people that want to leave the bedside, yet that's where we need so many nurses to be there and to be, their best selves so that they can take great care of their patients.
You're listening to Nurses on Fire, the podcast for nurses by nurses aspiring to financial independence. I'm your host, Naseema McElroy of Financially Intentional. Let's spark some flames, y'all. Welcome back to episode 10 of the Nurses on Fire podcast. And if this is your first time listening, thank you so much for tuning in. I would be eternally grateful if you took a moment to subscribe, leave a review, and share with other nurses that you know could benefit. When you post that review, please make sure to take a screenshot and send it to Naseema at financiallyintentional.com. If you're listening to this episode when it releases on September 12th, 2019, I've just gotten back from FinCon, a conference for people in personal finance media, podcasts, blogs, YouTubes, etc. And it was off the hook, y'all. It was phenomenal. So I hope you were following me on my stories on both Financially Intentional and on the Nurses on Fire podcast Instagram pages. I was on there showing out with my baby on my hip, making big things happen. I'm also excited to share partnerships with some amazing financial technology companies that have created some excellent resources to support you in your path to financial freedom. Stay tuned for more information about that. And I also got to spend time with my ace, boom, coon, Jamila Sufrant of Journey to Launch. She so happened to be my roommate during the conference. So big up to her for kicking it with me and baby Aya. I also got to spend time with two past guests, Lynn from episode 2 that retired at 40, Tara from episode 6, from RN to Wealthy. These are some phenomenal nurses, you guys, and women in general. So if you haven't already, go back and listen to those episodes. I also got a super duper shout out to Crystal Dillard, who is a member of the Financially Intentional community at large, but also one of my coaching clients. I was floored to see her at FinCon, like in tears, you guys, as she has done a total 360 with her finances and is now sharing her story on her own personal finance platform at Crystal Financial Friend. So you can look for her at crystalfinancialfriend.com and Crystal Financial Friend on Instagram. So Crystal went from $62,000 in debt to debt freedom to then saving 51% of her income and investing in an investment property. This is from working with me in our coaching that started in December, you guys. This is just since last December, not even a good year, okay? So FYI, not currently taking any coaching clients right now, but make sure you're signed up on my mailing list and head over to financiallyintentional.com and click Let Me Show You How. Again, if you want to learn more about Crystal, head over to crystalfinancialfriend.com or follow her on Instagram under the same name. Now let's hop into this week's episode. This week we have Kelly West joining us, who is an RN turned passionate entrepreneur. She had been a pediatric registered nurse for 20 plus years, helping kids and families move through the journey of childhood cancer. As a pediatric oncology RN for 16 years, Kelly has been a clinician, educator, and leader in many different roles. She moved into being an entrepreneur initially in the health and wellness space online in 2014. She found helping others lose weight, feel better, and see some incredible mindset changes along the way got her passionate about the brain and how it works to help move us forward or keep us held back from our goals. Kelly works with clients in the healthcare field, including nurses, parents, and other caregivers, to help them overcome stress, anxiety, and the overwhelm, using a brain-based approach to remove these blocks and help them feel better and reach their goals. So if you're listening in real time, this is perfect. Kelly is having a training next Thursday, September 18th at 4 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, called Raise Your Resiliency, 6 Steps to Bounce Back from Any Obstacle. In her training, you'll discover how your brain is responsible for creating your current state and what you can do to change it. You'll learn how you can rewire your brain's connections to make lasting changes and improve your life. You'll discover how to improve your emotional fitness so you can bounce back from any obstacle. You'll also get a free copy of the Resiliency Roadmap and the Raise Your Resiliency worksheet. During the training, you'll also get a chance to ask questions during their live Q&A session. This training sounds amazing, and I hope you can join her live September 18th, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Without further ado, let's get into episode 10. This nurse helps others build emotional resiliency with Kelly West. So it is my honor to have Kelly West on the Nurses on Fire podcast. Kelly has been a pediatric oncology nurse, or was a pediatric oncology nurse for some time. Now she's branching off and starting a new business venture, which I'll have her explain to you. So Kelly, welcome to Nurses on Fire. And if you will, can you please give us a little bit of information about your background and where you're at right now?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Naseema. Thank you so much for having me. I really am honored and appreciative of being on this podcast. So currently I help cancer moms let go of stress and worry and anxiety so that they can create happy, healthy, resilient families. But where I came from in my background, like you said, I am a pediatric nurse, and most of my career I've been working in the field of pediatric oncology. I've been a nurse for now going on about 25 years, which is crazy, but
congratulations.
Thank you. And I've truly loved it. And the years that I did pediatric oncology for about 16 of those years, 16, 17 of those years. And, the families and the children that I cared for, it was the best job in the world. I loved going to work. I loved helping them. And it was always difficult to explain because people would say, how can you be a pediatric oncology nurse? That must be so hard. And I heard that so many times. But for me, it was truly an honor and a blessing to go to work and care for these families. And these kids are just amazing. And they taught me so much about resiliency and being strong and just so many lessons that I learned from them that I just couldn't help to love that field. So now that I am starting my own business and moving into the online world, what I am so passionate about is still being a part of that world, but being able to really look at helping those parents in such a more profound way and a broader way for my understanding. And I don't know how much you want me to go into right now, but I, saw just how much that parents definitely struggle with that stress, worry, and anxiety, as you can certainly imagine going through that with your child. And there are resources for parents definitely during the time that they're in the hospital or in the clinic in the outpatient setting with their child. But sometimes going beyond that, or once their child's done with treatment, it's their child's done with treatment, but they're not done feeling the fear, worry, and anxiety, right? So that a lot of times stays with them for sometimes many years beyond their child's treatment. And so really trying to work with them to help them kind of get their life back and get that normalcy back.
I think that's amazing. And yes, even though there are resources out there, I feel like the approach that you're taking is much needed, because I think that a lot of the stuff that we offer is kind of just really surface level help. And I know that you work a lot on mindset and really like how to deal with those underlying emotions that come with processing grief and things like that. So I think that that's super important to have as an addendum to the things that may be widely available, like in hospital settings or through like or for like a referral from their doctor. So I think that it's super important that people know that this resource exists. And I think that you're the perfect person because of your background and because what you've gone through to be able to really relate, but also know exactly what works in dealing with coping, especially with these high stress situations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I think that's the thing that I've seen. There's so many resources, and I'm, certainly not saying that, there's somebody can reach out and have many resources, right? I see parents getting resources for lots of different pieces of their journey, whether it be financially or emotionally or what have you. So this is just another resource that I'm really trying to provide to help them just being able to connect with somebody and connect with a community as well, and trying to put those pieces together. Not everybody feels completely comfortable going to a group setting, kind of a live group setting at a hospital, or can't get away, or may live in a rural setting and can't quite get to that. And, online is just a lot easier to be able to access sometimes and be able to get those resources and that help you need.
Yeah, so I know you just mentioned that your services are online. Can you just speak a little bit more to how people access your services?
Yeah, so I'm going to actually be doing live training September 18th called Raise Your Resiliency. And so it'll be a live training about really how to look at, our emotional wherewithal, our emotional thought process, and how we kind of go through our grief and anxiety and stress, and how we look at those, and how can we reframe that and really be able to bounce back. I think one of the things I love about emotional resiliency work is looking at, how we can recover from such traumatic events. How can we get back to quote unquote normalcy? Because I think, going through a process or what I call a traumatic event like pediatric oncology, it really changes you. And a lot of people, that becomes their identity, that I'm a cancer mom, and there's a lot of pride that certainly goes with that. And I love that. But there's also a lot of thought process and a lot of identity that gets tied with that. And sometimes even many years beyond their child's therapy, it is something that they can't let go of. They have a really hard time sometimes finding what really what really lights them up. And they're just sort of stuck a little bit in that world. And so it's really looking at how can we reframe our thoughts, our emotions, so that we can move forward in our lives.
And I know that you're expanding some of your services to be able to work with nurses, because, of course, I know that, people ask you how you dealt with being a pediatric oncology nurse and just having to deal with loss and grief all the time. But just in the world of nursing, even if it's not in oncology, there's still a lot of stress and trauma that's associated with our jobs. So what are some ways that you can help nurses recover from that?
Absolutely. I think, from the nursing side of it, being on that side of the bed, so to speak, there's a lot of stress, no matter what field really of nursing you're in. There's a lot of stress. There's our own anxiety, about whether it's the patients we're taking care of, or it's just the workplace environment, the schedules, the, 12, 14-hour shifts. All of that can lend to a lot of stress. And so really looking at how we can have better emotional resiliency, and even in that realm, how can we not get burned out? How can nurses really look at their role and either say, there's a way to reframe that, and how can we look at our emotional wherewithal and how can we look at things differently so that we can be able to do our jobs better and that we can love our jobs again. Because I think there's so much struggle with a lot of nurses. I was just at a conference actually this last fall, and somebody was asking, we were in a room of about 1,000 nurses, and asking how many of them were either considering leaving their job or have considered leaving their job. And almost, 75, 80% of the room probably raised their hand. And it was just sad to see that there's that much stress and just emotional breakdown and just really difficulty dealing with our world in nursing, that there's so many people that want to leave the bedside, yet that's where we need so many nurses to be there and to be, their best selves so that they can take great care of their patients. And so that's one side of things. The other side, when I've worked with some nurses, like just looking at how they view their own role as a nurse. I've had some clients that I've worked with that have, again, kind of looked at an identity about whatever their role is, whether it's the bedside, whether they're a clinical specialist or what have you, but yet they really want to do something else, or they want to spend maybe more time with their family, or they want a better balance in their work. And how can they also reframe their mindset looking at, letting go of a certain identity and that it doesn't have to define them in their role that they currently are in, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense. And I know, and I'm sure you have the experience of working with nurses that just stay working even after the burnout, even after all that is set in, because they can't afford not to work. Right. Because of the financial decisions that they've made. And so this is a lot of the reason why I have this Nurses on Fire podcast, is because even though nurses can make a very good salary, I think that we are still way behind in really using that economic power that we have and ensuring that we are on a path of setting ourselves up so that we don't have to work. And I think just having the ability to not know that you don't have to go to work for a paycheck also unlocks a level of emotional freedom in you that can help with that burnout. And I know a lot of the work that you do is around mindset, and that's like the number one lesson that I teach, and that has to be in place even before people turn around their finances, is making sure that they shift their mindset in order to know what's possible and to actually believe that that's possible for themselves. Can you speak to some examples of people that you've seen that have stayed in nursing far too long just because of money? And then can you talk about maybe some mindset shifts that you're able to help people experience so that their perspectives are changing and it lifts some of those burdens from them? I'm known as a debt slayer because of the $200,000 in student loans I slayed in 2.5 years. I hated those loans, and dealing with the loan servicers, I was head down and focused and wanted to get rid of the debt as soon as possible. Knocking out these loans and seeing a zero loan balance was one of the most liberating feelings I have ever felt. But recently I learned that by not optimizing my student loan payoff strategy, I lost money. I'm talking about big money, y'all. I could have saved $80,000 if I had a customized student loan plan by the team at Student Loan Planner. Please don't make the same mistake as me. If you have student loan debt, especially in the six figures, head over to studentloanplanner.com/financially intentional to get your customized student loan plan today. Do you know how your retirement funds are invested? Do you know how much you're paying in fees? Chances are you're on the same boat as some of my coworkers. Some of them set up their retirement when they first got hired and never looked at it again. Some have let a computer select their investments and don't even know what they're invested in. Worst of all, some people have their retirement funds sitting in a savings account and they're not even invested in the market because they're afraid to lose money. That's hella scary, y'all. What's even scarier is that some of you listening don't even have a clue what I'm talking about. And guess what? This is super common. This has to change today. Let Bloom do the work for you. Head over to financiallyintentional.com/Bloom and get your free retirement account analysis. They'll check and see if your retirement account is optimized for you, and they'll let you know if you're paying too much in fees. That's Bloom with 3 O's. Bloom can also manage your retirement account on an ongoing basis so you can take the stress out of retirement planning. If you choose to work with Bloom, their fees are incredibly low, less than your Netflix subscription. You have enough to worry about. Let Bloom handle your retirement account. The hardest thing you'll have to do when it comes to your retirement is remember that Bloom is spelled with 3 O's. Head over to financiallyintentional.com/Bloom. Remember, spelled with 3 O's, and get your retirement account squared away today.
Absolutely. Yeah. I had a client one time that she was a nurse, really a nurse specialist, and was just loved her job, loved everything about it, but was really struggling with that work-life balance, wanted to spend a little more time with her family, had asked about doing a little bit of work-life balance, and had some struggles around that money mindset as well. Letting go of, I am this person and I make this amount of salary. That's really hard to let go of.
Yep.
I think we all, myself included, have worked through, to a point, some of that money mindset, and really saying, being so attached to what is that salary and what does that salary say about me? And if I let it go, what does that say about me? So it's really also looking at how can we reframe that mindset and change our thought process so we don't have to have such attachment to the identity of whatever our salary is and how that defines us, and then we can't let it go. So then they stay working in a job that's making them miserable day in and day out because they can't let go of that, because what will that say about them? So we had worked on really a lot of work about reframing thought processes and how, looking at creating a different story and realizing that the stories that she was really telling herself was a lot around that, was saying, if I'm a clinical specialist and this means I'm a leader and I'm all of this. And if I let that go, I'll no longer be a leader, or I'll no longer be looked up to in this way. And we had to do a lot of work around reframing that, and that, no matter what job she has, even if she works part-time and is a part-time mom, she gets that balance that she has, and was able to, still feel very validated, and still was able to just shift her identity to just a different role. And, that took a little bit of time, but she was able to shift that and ended up quitting her job, taking a part-time job, and is like thrilled. She is like so incredibly happy. She thanks me all the time for helping her kind of through that, because that was a real struggle for her. She was really stuck in that mindset of who am I in this role, and that I can't let go of it,
I think that's powerful, because now that she was able to let go of it, now
Mhm.
she's actually thriving.
Totally.
And I think that's what people need to understand, is that it's not just about like money, or it's about living life the way that makes you thrive, and the way that makes you happy, and the way that you deserve and that your family deserves. It's not about a dollar figure in the bank. I
Mhm.
think that there's ways that you can set up security so you don't have to worry about money. But ultimately, what our purpose in life is to be happy, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think like a lot of times money gets in the way of that. And I
Mhm.
know that, you so candidly shared with me that you're not where you want to be financially, but
Right.
I think it's all about the journey. And I think that the biggest lessons that we pick up are along that journey. And every time we hit a milestone, we hit another level of freedom. And I think that it's incredible that not only are you a nurse, but you're venturing off to help families and to help other nurses. And by creating this business, you're unlocking levels of freedom and financial freedom down the line. Maybe not right at this moment, but it is definitely going to unlock levels of financial freedom in your family.
Yeah.
So that, you can live the life that you deserve too. And I think that I love what you're doing. I love that you saw a need that was there. A lot of times people always ask me about starting businesses and are like just a side hustle or ways to make extra income. And I tell them, like, what's something that you're doing right now that you see that there's a need that needs to be addressed? And I think that through your years of experience, you saw that there was this, drastic need for these families to really have different methods of learning how to cope with the things that they've been dealing with and turn that into a business. And I think that that's amazing. Where do you hope to take this business, and what do you think it'll do for your clients, and what do you think it'll do for you and your family?
Oh gosh. I always say that I'm the biggest dreamer. I'm a Pisces, and I'm just one of those people. I've always been that way, even with nursing, always having a vision of kind of where I wanted to be in my nursing career. And I did the side hustle and started in the health and wellness space, and then have moved into creating my own business as an entrepreneur. And talk about money mindset. That is definitely a growth opportunity. Anytime you step into entrepreneurship. But it's been amazing at the same time. It's something that I'm very excited about. And as far as my business, I see, taking this, starting right now, I do the online training and courses, but I would love to do some really in-person live events, working to help people raise their emotional resiliency and just have better self-care and, change their mindset, learning how we can use our brains to really elevate our lives so much better. So I think I have a lot of exciting things just always ruminating in my head. And that's part of, I guess, being an entrepreneur and just having that dream for what I see down the line. But definitely, as a financial aspect, I see that as well, being able to make the income that I really see making in the future, being able to not only help my family, but part of that is a dream to always be that philanthropist as well and be able to give back to children's hospitals or families, because that's where, this all came from. And there's a great need to just continue looking into research for cancer research and all that. So it's a twofold thing in helping, or a multi-fold thing, looking at helping those families, helping nurses, and also, as well, helping myself and then giving back to those families that are in need and maybe do need some assistance along the way.
I love that. So I know on September 18th, you're going to have a free webinar, and we talked about it briefly earlier. But who is this webinar going to be for, and what is it going to address?
So it's going to be mostly, for cancer moms, but it's really open to any, I would say, mom, dad, it's really struggling with that, letting go of any kind of stress, worry, anxiety in their life, particularly if they have a child with a chronic illness, and wanting to really learn how to create more resiliency, more happy, healthy, resilient families. Because when they raise their resiliency and they're able to have greater emotional awareness and be able to heal themselves, they're going to be a better parent to their children. They're going to be a better spouse to their husband, wife, whatever. And so it's called Raise Your Resiliency. And I'm excited about offering this free training for anybody that feels like it could benefit them, because I think we need stronger, healthier families in this world. And that's what I hope to bring.
I think that's amazing. So you guys, there'll be a link in the show notes to go sign up for this webinar. So if you are a caregiver, a parent, or anybody who feels like you can benefit from building up some emotional resiliency, this is a webinar that you should definitely attend. So, Kelly, I think that's all the questions that I have for you today. I just want to commend you on stepping out and starting your own business and using that as a tool to unlock a level of freedom financially. But I think that it'll unlock a whole bunch of not only financial freedoms in your life, but it's also anyway, I was saying you're providing a service that is desperately needed. And I thank you for doing that. I thank you for spending time with us and letting us know the great work that you're doing out there and letting other nurses know what's possible for them. So, Kelly, if people want to get in contact with you outside of attending the webinar, what's the best way that they can get in contact with you?
Yeah, so I'm on social media pretty much everywhere as Kelly West Online. So kellywestonline.com. I'm on Facebook as Kelly West Online and Instagram as well. And yeah, anyone can find me there, connect with me, shoot me a DM. I'd love to connect.
All right. So there it is. Connect with Kelly West Online. Again, thank you so much, Kelly, for being a part of the Nurses on Fire podcast. I look forward to connecting with you later on and seeing how your course is going and how your business is growing. And I'm sure you're going to positively affect so many people's lives and the lives of their families. So I appreciate everything that you're doing. So wasn't that an awesome episode, you guys? I apologize for my raspy voice. I recorded that when I was getting over my little cold I had, and the baby was with me, so she did the fool a little bit towards the end. My apologies again. So let's dive into the nursing notes. So you guys, we are not our trauma or what we do for a living for that sake. So Kelly talks about how often cancer moms get trapped in that identity and have a hard time finding the things that really bring them joy. We can say the same thing about our career. What's the first thing you say when people ask you about yourself at a dinner party? We say we're nurses, but does that really tell them anything about our passion and what really drives us? Let's look at different ways to answer this for ourselves. The second point is, you guys, burnout is real. Kelly talks about how she was at a conference and 70 to 80% of the nurses stood up saying that they were burned out. What are we doing to make sure we're not physically and mentally burnt out? So the purpose of this podcast and what I truly believe is that by getting our financial house in order, that it'll play a big role in helping us defeat burnout. The third point, don't let your perceived identity, and we're talking about identity again, keep you from living your best life. So who we identify as has a way of trapping us in situations that aren't really serving us. So I'm going to share more about this in a later episode, but I got caught up in needing to project that things were perfect. Yeah, I paid off all this debt, and now life is supposed to be all peachy keen. Newsflash, Walter Cronkite. It's not. I really had to check myself and focus on what really matters. And that's my overall physical and mental well-being and spending time with my family. But that's a whole other episode, y'all. So don't forget that Kelly is having a live training Thursday, September 18th, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, called Raise Your Resiliency, the 6 steps to bounce back from any obstacle. So in her training, you'll discover how your brain is responsible for creating your current state and what you can do to change it. You'll learn how you can rewire your brain connections to make lasting changes and improve your life. You'll discover how to improve your emotional fitness so you can bounce back from any obstacle. You'll get a free resiliency roadmap and the Raise Your Resiliency workbook. You'll also get a chance to ask questions live during the Q&A session. You do not want to miss this training next Thursday, September 18th. Click the link in the show notes and it'll take you there to sign up. You've been listening to Nurses on Fire. If you want to learn more about me or my guests, check out our show notes page. If you found value, please support our show by supporting our sponsors and affiliate, also listed in the show notes. If you like what you're hearing, we'd love for you to give us a 5-star rating and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Google, or whatever podcast app you're using to stream this show. You guys, tell all the nurses in your life to subscribe. And if you know a nurse with a compelling money story and would like me to feature them, shoot me an email at Naseema@financiallyintentional.com. All right, y'all. Much love and keep them fires blazing.
Thank you for listening to my mommy's podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye-bye.